There's this constant, draining argument that a lot of men have with their own lives. We're going to talk about a two-word Latin phrase that might just be the key to finally ending it. It's called Amor Fati.
Right? This is the core idea right here. It's not about, pretending everything is perfect. It's about taking what you've been handed, the good, the bad, all of it, and figuring out how to use it. And that simple difference, well, it's going to frame everything we talk about today. And look, let's be honest with ourselves. This is what so many of us are doing, right? We're basically in a constant battle with what's already happened, what's happening right now, and what we're terrified might happen next. It's just an exhausting war, and it's all thought inside our own heads. So, does any of this sound familiar to you? This is pretty much the soundtrack to that internal battle. That thought, I should be further along. Man, that just hits on the pressure so many of us feel to measure up. Every single one of these phrases, it's a form of resistance. It's like friction, creating this heavy weight we have to carry around every single day. And this really gets to the heart of it all. I mean, life is hard. That's a given. But the deepest source of our pain, our frustration, it doesn't actually come from the event itself. It comes from our refusal to accept that it happened. The real suffering, it's in the argument. Okay, so before we dive any deeper, we've got to be crystal clear about what Amor Fati is not. This isn't toxic positivity, just slapping a fake smile on everything. It's not just passively giving up and letting the world roll over you. And it is absolutely not an excuse to do nothing. It's actually an active, engaged way of dealing with the world exactly as it is.
So, what is it then? Amor Fati literally means a love of one's fate. The Stoics, who really champion this idea, they believe that things happen for a reason, with a sort of necessity. The practice, then, is to embrace it all, not just put up with it, but to truly embrace it as part of the very fabric of your life.
Okay, and this right here is where most people get tripped up. They mix up acceptance with approval. Acceptance is just acknowledging what's true. I lost my job. I got hurt. It's a fact. Approval, on the other hand, is a judgment. I'm glad I lost my job. Amor Fati requires acceptance, but it never, ever requires your approval. You don't have to like what happened, you just have to stop arguing with the fact that it did happen.
The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, and this is a guy who was born a slave and went through incredible hardship, he just nailed this concept. He got that happiness isn't about trying to bend the world to your will. I mean, that's an impossible task, right? It's found in aligning your will with the way the world actually is. That is where your real power is.
And what's really fascinating is how two totally different ways of seeing the world end up in the exact same place. So you have the Stoics, who saw the universe as this rational, ordered place, like it's all part of some grand design. For them, loving your fate was about getting in sync with that cosmic purpose. But then, fast forward a few centuries, and you have the philosopher Nietzsche. He looked out at what he saw as a chaotic, meaningless universe and basically said, love it anyway. So whether the world is ordered or just random, the challenge is exactly the same. Stop fighting it and start living it. Okay, so how do you actually do this? Here's a pretty simple 3-step framework. First, you define what happened, but objectively, like a reporter, just the facts. The project failed, no emotion. Second, use a mantra to force yourself to accept it. The former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink has a great one. Good. Project failed? Good. Now you've got an opportunity to figure out what went wrong. See, this isn't about being positive. It's about shutting down that internal argument so you can get to the final step. Solutions. Ask yourself, what can I actually control right now?
All right, to see how this works when the pressure is really on,
Let me tell you about a guy who believed in this so much that he had Amor Fati tattooed on his forearm, a permanent personal reminder always facing him of the code he chose to live by.
And then his whole philosophy was tested in about the most brutal way imaginable. He found out his infant son might have a terminal illness. This is that moment, where a nice idea in a book gets ripped off the page and becomes part of your actual life, your blood and bone. So in the middle of all that terror, all that grief, he looked down at his forearm and he made a choice. He wasn't trying to deny the pain, not at all. He was looking for the purpose inside of it. He realized that this horrible potential tragedy could actually be a catalyst, something that would force him to appreciate every single second he had with his son.
He didn't love what was happening because it felt good. He chose to love his fate because it was fuel to be a better dad, to be more present, to really cherish what he had right in front of him. Now, as it turns out, his son ended up being perfectly healthy, but that lesson, he said it was burned into him forever.
Because really, what's the alternative? The alternative is this. Arguing with reality comes with a hidden tax. It just drains your energy on fights you can't possibly win. And that's energy you need for your job, for your family, for your goals. It creates this constant mental pain. It makes you blind to the opportunities that are sitting right in front of you. Resisting isn't strength, it's a burden you put on yourself that just grinds you down. Look, the goal of practicing Amor Fati, it isn't to be in some constant state of giddy happiness. The goal is something much deeper than that. It's peace, a real grounded tranquility. It's that quiet that finally settles in your mind when you lay down your weapons and stop fighting a war against what is.
So, ultimately, this all comes down to a choice you have to make in every single moment. When something you didn't plan for happens, are you going to resist it, resent it, wear yourself out fighting it, or are you going to participate, work with it, and find the way forward?
Because life is going to unfold whether you like it or not. Your approval is, well, it's irrelevant. What matters, what really changes everything, is your active participation. Your willingness to actually engage with the hand you've been dealt and just play it to the absolute best of your ability. And so we end up right back where we started. Loving your fate, it's not about liking it. It means you stop that incredible waste of energy that goes into wishing things were different. And you take all that power and you redirect it into using what you have right here, right now. That is Amor Fati, and that is the path to real peace.